The kettlebell deadlift. So with the RDL or the partial deadlift that I did with the kettlebell, I started it on the ground. So if you were to start the kettlebell deadlift with the kettlebell on the ground, it would be right in between your feet, between your midfoot and your forefoot. Your feet's going to be about hip width to shoulder width apart, toes facing mainly forward. As we go down, we loosen up the knee and we fold the hip while keeping our back nice and tall. So the first part of the deadlift, right when we get to our knees, the main movement is with the knees soft. We're bending at our hips and pushing our butt back. And that balances out by our body coming forward, and your feet should be nice and balanced. As your hands reach your knees could bend a little bit more, as you can see here, to bring your whole body back down to the ground. So if you don't bend your knees, your butt will be way up in the air and you'll be leaning forward a lot more with your body, which could put a lot more strain just on your lower back and your hamstrings. But when we bend our knees towards the bottom of the movement, this helps us use our legs as a whole to complete this movement. So once we've safely brought it back to the ground, we are going to focus on keeping our upper body nice and tight. We're not initiating the movement by lifting our chest or pushing our upper back into the standing position. We're actually pushing into the floor with our legs and we're squeezing our butt, which is in turn going to lift up our body. So the main movers for this is our lower body, and our upper body is simply there to help stabilize our spine and our core that connects our arms to the kettlebell. So some common kettlebell deadlift faults that we see. So because the kettlebell is in between the knees, whereas if we had the bar, we wouldn't be able to push our knees forward like this when we're doing this movement. This is more of a squat movement where the knees are coming forward a lot more and we are engaging a lot of quads and our body is a lot more upright. So it's not necessarily a bad movement, but this isn't exactly a kettlebell deadlift. So that's the biggest fault that we would see here. This might be a kettlebell squat. So you can see the difference that I'm showing you here is in this bottom position, we should be more in this area. But if you bend your knees a lot more and try to keep your body more vertical, then your knees will protrude forward and this will look a lot more like a squat, as opposed to putting a lot of pressure on our glutes and bending at the hips for the pressure or the muscles being used in the back of the body. So that's one of the main faults that we see for the kettlebell deadlift. Not to mention if your back is rounding or shoulders rounding forward, your arms are coming forward, your neck is coming forward. So a lot of the faults that were discussed in the neutral starting or standing position.